Hello guys, in this tutorial we will be covering copy constructors. Since this is a topic that is comparatively harder to what we've covered so far, let's just look at what they are and what are the problems associated with them over here, and then we'll move on to the code. Okay, so there are two types of copy constructors, the shallow copy and the deep copy. So first let's look at the shallow copy constructor. Now imagine you have a class with three attributes x, y, and z. You create an object for one for from the class A, and you set the attributes equal to 3, 2, and 4. You create another object, but you don't allocate anything to x, y, and z, and this is left as garbage for now. Now, when you set object 2 equal to object 1, all the data from object 1 would be copied to object 2. Now, in this case, we don't have any problems with copy constructors, the shallow copy constructor. Now, problems do occur when we start dealing with pointers. Now, imagine that we have an attribute x and y, and we have a pointer to x in our class. Now, the numbers that you see below the boxes are addresses in the memory. These aren't the actual addresses in which these would be stored. We can't know them before runtime, so these are just assumptions. Now we have an other object, and we're setting object 2 equal to object 1. Now the problem is that x is equal to 3 and y is equal to 3 would be copied properly. However, a problem would occur while copying the pointer. Our original pointer was pointing at the 0th location in which our object 1's x was stored. Now for object 2, when we want to point to the 52nd address in which object 2's x is stored. However, in this case we have a problem. It is still pointing to object 1's x, which was in the 0th location. So this is the problem that we need to tackle, and this is tackled using deep copy. Now let's see what happens in deep copy. We readjust our pointers so it starts pointing to a different address. So now let's head over to Visual Studio and see how we're going to be implementing this. Okay, so I've created the basic project, and let's just create a class as we just discussed. And our private variables would be x, y, and z. Now for our constructor, let's pass it three integers to initialize our x, y, and z. Now this would be x equals a, y equals b, and z is equal to c. And let's make getters for our x, y, and z as well, so that we can display them using our main. So this would return x. Similarly, let me just copy paste this and replace this with get y, return y, and get z and return z. Okay, now let's head over to the main. Let's make object 1 of type A and initialize it with 2, 4, and 6. And object 2 can be initialized with anything. We don't really care about this one. And then let's set object 2 equals object 1. Now our default copy constructor would be called. As you can see, we haven't made any copy constructor over here, but that's not a problem because the shallow copy is something that we do not need to implement, and it will be automatically called whenever we set one object equal to another. Okay, so now when we try to display the attributes of our object 2, we should get 2, 4, and 6. X equals object 2 dot get x. And similarly, we'll do the same for y and z. This shouldn't cause any problems right now. This causes problems only when we start dealing with pointers. We'll see that example too in a moment. Let's just try this out first. Okay, so when I run this, It's building right now. Just give it a second. And all right, that's correct. The elements of object 1 have been copied to x, y, and z of object 2. All right, now for our deep copy, let's create another class, class B, and some private variables such as int x and int y. And our constructor B would take two arguments which would help us initialize x and y. X would be set equal to a and y equal to b. Now in this class we will be adding a pointer as well, and this pointer will point to the address of, sorry, pointer would point to the address of x. This operator right here helps us point towards address, helps us get the address, and now we can set our pointer equal to that address. Now let's create some getter functions as well. So int get x would return x, and get y would return y. Now inside our main, I am commenting this out because this was for our shallow copy and not the deep copy. Now create an object 1 which stores 3 and 6, and object 2 stores anything. Now we set object 2 equal to object 1. Remember, right now shallow copy is taking place and this will probably cause an error. Now I go to the pointer of object 1, object 1 dot pointer, and change the value that it's pointing to 5. Now this value should be changed to 5 and object 2 should remain to 3. However, when I try to access object 2's x, this would change too, I think. Now let's just run this and see if I'm right. Oh, sorry, I wasn't supposed to get its x. The x would be 3. I need to get I need to access its pointer and see what it is pointing to. It should have still pointed towards 3, right? However, now it would be pointing towards 5, which was object 1's x, and that just doesn't make sense. See? This is the problem that we need to tackle. For this, we will make a copy constructor which implements deep copy. Okay, now first, before you start making your copy constructor to implement deep copy, copy like this instead of doing that in another line, because that way the copy constructor that we created won't be called. This is something set up by the C++ standards. Okay, now head over here. I think I've already implemented this, but let me just remove this and let's implement this again. We can pass a constant object of the type of our class. That just means that we can't edit the contents. This constant means that we cannot edit the contents of C. So inside the constructor, what we want to do is we want to copy x, c.x to x, and c.y needs to be copied to y. Now the pointer is the tricky part. Normally our pointer starts pointing to this x. Now we want to change that and we want to make our pointer point towards uh, our own x. So now our output should be correct. Now the object that this is pointing to and this x should be the same. And let's see if this works. Yes, you edited object 1's pointer to 5. However, that is not affecting object 2's pointer anymore. So this is the basic idea behind the deep copy. And that's it for this tutorial. Thank you for watching.